I'm Ted. Our YouTube channel is Expedition Team Wyborn. Me and my wife, we Jeep, off-road, hike, camp all over North America. We recently bought a 2024 Colorado ZR2, and we love having a dash cam in our vehicle. So we installed a Wolfbox G900 Pro Dash Cam in here. It's a 4K front-facing camera and a 2.5K facing camera to the rear. And so I'm going to show you quick how to install it in this truck. It's super easy, it's not intimidating. So let's go have a look. All right, let's jump in here and we'll show you what it can do. The Wolfbox G900 camera is a simple install up on the windshield. What you're going to do is reach up here, pull out this little tab above the mirror and this trim piece. They pull right out, pretty easy. And then you can remove the stock mirror just with a screw and pull it out of the way. Then Wolfbox makes a mount so you can put the Wolfbox camera back in the stock location of the OEM mirror. It's really easy to do and it's quick and fast. So then what you do is you can take these wires here. You have a power wire, the GPS antenna, the backup camera, and with this trim piece removed, you can easily just tuck these wires up underneath the headliner and run them over to the far side of the dash. And then to remove this, there's a cover here that you get off with a pry tool. There's a 10mm bolt behind each one, and this whole trim piece pulls out. With this trim piece pulled off, I ran the wire behind the airbag for the GPS antenna down to the corner of the windshield and mounted the GPS antenna down here on the dash. The power wire, you're actually going to run down to the bottom of the floor down here, and I'll show you how to run that here in just a second, because there's a fuse box down this footwell where you can tie in all your power wires. And then the rear camera wire, when you run it across to here, you're going to tuck it up in the headliner by the door and run back, and you're going to have to pull this off so you can remove this little airbag cover, and there's a 7mm bolt in there, and this whole trim piece will pull off. And then you can tuck the rear camera wiring all the way to the back of the cab of the truck. Pause. So your power wire is going to run from the inside. You can pull it out and pull this off. You literally just get a pry tool behind this, and this will pry and open up. And then you can run the power wire down here. And then there's a fuse box right here where you can tie in your power wire. It'll be a power wire and the auxiliary power wire or accessory wire. We'll all tuck into this fuse box down here. It's an easy install. And I'll show you some more details on that at the end of the video. So when you go to run the wiring for the backup camera, you'll have this trim piece off, and then you can feed it the wire up underneath the headliner here. And it's really easy to get to. You can take this little bit of foam and pull it out, and then you can just grab a hold of the headliner and you can easily pull it down. And so to give you an idea of how much space is in there, like I can get this much of my hand underneath the headliner easy. So there's all kinds of room for the wiring. You can see the wiring here. It's just tucked in there. And then you can just take this rubber, run your finger like this, and it covers it back up and hides it. And it's the same way with the back door. And it's the same going out to the third camera. All right, so to get the wiring out for the camera, you're gonna come out through the third brake light. This is really easy to take off. There's two screws. They have a size 20 torque bit on it. Pull them off, this comes out. There's a lot of space in the back side of this, and you can reach in through and just push down the headliner and pull it up and bring the camera wire out like this. The Wolfbox company sends you a mount for the rear camera. You can see that I just used the double-sided tape that came with it and hooked it, and then reinstall the third brake light. This is super easy to do. Now that I've done the install, I think I could probably do this install in like 25 to 30 minutes. It took me about an hour and a half to do the install when I put this in, because I didn't really know what I was doing to get going. Super easy install though, it's not intimidating. If you have a Colorado truck and you want a dash cam, we've been running the 900 in our Jeep Wrangler for a little over a year, and we've used it extensively off-road. It's great for taking pictures and video while you're on the fly. And I'll have another video to show you what the 900 Pro does as far as dash cam performance. Alright, so if you stuck through the video this far, this is where I'm going to get into more of the details of exactly how the dash cam was installed, how the wiring took place, and maybe it'll address any questions you have. This is the wiring for the backup camera. Pretty simple plug-in at both ends. This is nice and small, should make it easy to route through the vehicle and hide all the wiring. Okay, it also included a rear license plate mount for the rear facing camera. Even came with nice instructions. That's a bonus. This is the hardwire kit. This will power the dash cam. You have your pry tool for removing panels and stuff inside of the vehicle, and these are the wiring harnesses that allow you to hook directly into the fuse box without having to cut any wires or actually just solder anything together. This should be a real simple install. Alright, let's go ahead and open this up. As you can see, it is the Wolfbox G900 Pro. It's 4K in the front, 2.5K in the back. It's got a super night vision, voice control, 5.8G Wi-Fi, GPS, and a 12-inch touchscreen. If it's anything like the 900 that I have in our Jeep, it should be a fantastic camera. So let's get it opened up. Packaged really well. So here's the camera. This is made to replace your rear view mirror in your vehicle, and so you can either use these here to strap it over the mirror or remove them and use a mount something like this so you can actually just remove the OEM mirror, which is what I'm going to do. So that's the front of this. Here's your camera. What I like about this is you can actually move this camera around and adjust it to get the view that you want. Up on top, you got your Type-C, your plug-in for your rear camera, and then your plug-in for the GPS. Pretty simple stuff. Set that over here. So inside of the box is your cigarette adapter if you just want to plug it in instead of hardwiring it. I'm going to hardwire it because it's going to be in the vehicle for as long as I own the vehicle or longer. Here's another series of wire. This is the backup camera with the wiring, and so this other group of wiring here for the backup camera, this must be the 30-foot length one, so you can get the camera to anywhere in the vehicle. I'm going to probably use the shorter one because I'm going to hook this up above or right below the brake light that's in the top of the cab of the truck. This is your GPS antenna, and we'll probably mount this somewhere on the dash. Then you have more hookups for the camera to the mirror. Looks like a lens cloth. And then some wiring holders. And then a rear camera mount so you can stick this wherever you want to stick it. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna stick it underneath the third brake light up above the box. A complete owner's manual and a pry tool. So that's what I've got, and let's get to installing it. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the mount set up for the camera. So you got to pry these little rubber tabs up, or covers. All right, and that exposes 4 screws that will go here, and this will set on here like this, but these right here will get pulled off. All right, I'm going to run these screws out, little Milwaukee drill, but I have the clutch turned all the way down so you don't strip out the screw or the threads on the mirror. One, two, 3, 4. Now that the screws are out, these will back out like this, this. Oops. There you go. So now should be ready for this mount. The mount sits just like that. We'll go from there. Need to mount the mount to the arm that goes to the windshield. That'll go like that. There's 4 screws that I'll have to run through. We'll get that done. Those came with the package. We'll pull these out. It's nice they even set an extra screw. I like it when companies do that because sometimes you just drop one of these and you can't find them, and then you're off trying to trace down one screw. Thanks Wolfbox for putting in extras. All right, so this mount, as you can see, just goes where those little fingers came off if you're going to mount it to the mirror. The mount sits in there like this, and so this needs to be pointing down. And it's obvious it's pointing down because the sign and lettering on the camera shows that it's pointing down. So just make sure it's pointing down so you don't have to change it again. So you will be reusing these screws right here that came out when we took these off the camera. So, and they'll go back into these little holes. And I'll use a screwdriver to retighten them back up as soon as I find the last screw. Here it is. There you go, nice and firm. That's the way we want it. So that'll be ready to be mounted to the windshield. All right, let's head into the truck That's what we have to do to take down the OEM mirror so we can start running wires. All right, I'm thinking we can just pry right up in here like this and pop this out. Yeah, it looks like the whole thing will come out. There's that. Pull that down. And then this here looks like it just pops out too. All right, let's see here. Alrighty. What we got to do here? There it goes. Well, that was easy enough to gain access to that. So here it looks like, sorry for the bright light. Looks like we can just take this one screw out right here, and the mirror should come off. Let's do that. All right, this screw for the mirror is right here. It's removed with a 20. We'll just unscrew this out like this. All right, I'm gonna turn this off so the mirror don't fall down and hit anything. All right, with the screw removed, the mirror just lifts up, comes off, and then we have a wiring harness to unplug. That is, I'm going to try and pull this off and this off. This should access back into the screws that hold the grab handle on. All right, so this back in here is a 10mm bolt. There's 2 of them. We'll pull those off real quick. There's one. There's 2. So this should just kind of like give this a pull. All right, with that off, you can see there's an airbag right there. We're going to make sure no wires are going to be in the way of the airbag. So let's run some wire. So the plan is to run wire and push it up in the headliner, like right here, and run it all the way across and bring it out here. So now I have the rear backup camera wiring coming out by the mirror, push up into the headliner. It's going to come over here, and I'm going to bring it out, and I'm bringing it down underneath the airbag. And then it's going to go behind the airbag, and we're going to tuck it up in here. Let me get a different angle for you. All right, let's take a quick look. You can see I'm tucked behind the airbag. It's going to come up the pillar. Sorry for the sun brightness. It's going to come up here. And it's going to go in behind the headliner here. I'm going to run it all the way over, bring it out over here, and then it's going to go in behind this panel right here. So the next thing I need to do to get this off, to run the wire behind this, is remove this, use a pry tool, get it out, and there should be a bolt behind it. Okay, so I've exposed the bolt, and there's a size 7. I'm going to pull that out. So this will come off pretty easy. Just put your finger up in here, give it a little pull. I'll pull around the foam there. It should come right out. All right, with it pulled out, I'm going to just kind of set it behind the seat here so I can get into this area. See that I've pulled the wire from the front passenger door to the rear passenger door. I'm just going to keep running in the headliner to the back of the truck. It's pretty easy to feed. Just kind of tuck, give it a push. Let me see here if I can get that right for you. And it will fall right in behind the headliner. Pretty easy to do. After running it along the headliner, it comes back to this rear trim piece, and there's enough room but you can easily slide it through between the headliner and this plastic trim. And so the airbag is below where the wire's running, so it's not going to be in the way of the airbag. And then I'm going to take and run it through here, tuck it up against the back window, and bring it over. All right, the next step is to remove the third brake light that's up at the top of the cab of the truck. It requires a 20 torque bit, and there's 2 screws. One here, of course, one here. All right, once you have the screws out, you can just grab a hold of this, pull from the top, and it should just pop right out. Maybe. There it goes. You can just set that to the side. Let's push some wires up. All right, with the third brake light out of the way, it was really easy to feed the wire up through the opening for the third brake light, and there's plenty enough room to tuck all this wire up in here. It was super easy to get it out. I had my wife on the inside just feed the wire up as I push down on the headliner through here, right through here. Super easy to get it up here. All right, so I've pushed the third brake light back in. There's enough room for the wire to come out the bottom. And then what I'll do is I'll tape this into place exactly where I want it. All right, I got the camera stuck in place, and it's centered on the third brake light at the top of the cab. Looks pretty good. I'm going to plug this into the cigarette lighter and power up the dash cam just to make sure that the rear camera and the GPS antenna is working before I finish the install with the hardwire. All right, the camera fired up just like it was supposed to. And so we can see the front camera is working, the GPS is working. You can also see here with the split screen that the rear camera is working. It just needs to be reorientated. But everything is as it should be. All right, we're in the final stretch. Only thing left to do is hardwire the camera to the fuse box. Should be pretty easy. We're going to use what they supplied us from Wolfbox. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to run the wires here, across the headliner, over here, attach it to the drain for the sunroof, and we're going to drop the wires here, and then they're going to come out over here, and I'll pull this panel off. All right, this panel should be pretty easy to get off. Just be able to come down in here with a pry tool and just kind of pop it. Once you got it popped a little bit, you should be able to just grab a hold of your hand, give it a pull, and off it comes. Move that out of the way. I'll probably ground to this right here, and then to run the wires down here, and there's a fuse box right up in here. That's what I like about Wolfbox. Look at this here. They have labeled these so there's like almost no way to make a mistake. Red to AC. It's gonna say, oh, let me see if I can get the camera to show it. Black is to ground, and B is for battery. So all we got to do is identify a fuse that is always on for the battery, one that's on for the accessory, and find a ground. Should be easy enough. All right, to get the wire down into the footwell, you can see where I came through here. Let me give you a bigger picture. And you can just pull it through. And that's down here now. We'll wire this into the fuse box down here, which is like right here. So this is a map of the fuse box. I'm using actual F5 for the constant power, and F5 is the driver's seat miscellaneous 10 amp. So now I can go over and get the wiring from Wolfbox and find the correct wiring harness. All right, so now you can see I have the correct fuse and the correct wiring harness to wire up the power to the camera. And this is going to go into the F05. With the fuse from the fuse box installed into the wiring harness, it's going to look like this, and it's ready to be plugged into the fuse box. And so now you can see I've got it plugged in to the F5 spot, and it's just going to come over here like this, and then the yellow here will plug into it. I'm going to need to loosen this bolt. It's a size 13 millimeter, so this is going to be my ground point. I'm going to secure this box up in this kick panel with some Gorilla Tape. So that's nice and secure here. It won't go anywhere. Gorilla Tape will hold it really well. Now I just need to shore up these wires and tuck them and zip tie them up so they don't just flop around inside the truck. All right, the wires are tied up and secured under that metal bracket where there's no sharp edges. That's how you want it. All right, you can see the yellow wire is down here to F5, all the way over to here. And then the F25 wire is running to the red wire. So this is all wired correctly. The ground is hooked up, and the camera is operational. Everything's wired correctly. So everything's hooked up and running. Now what I got to do is clean up. Need to put this back in the fuse box. Need to put the fuse box cover back on. I need to put this cover right here back on here, and it just slides in here behind the foam like so, and then snaps into place. See if I can do this one-handed. Here we go. There you go. That's all taken care of. All right, to finish out the install, you install this trim piece back on, which is held on with two 10 millimeter bolts. Snap the trim covers back over. Install this piece of trim. Remember that had a 7 millimeter bolt. Snap that back into place. Shore that stuff up. And then the last thing I did was install this cover first, and then the center piece, and tuck my wires up in here to make them look good. And that's it. It's installed and ready to go. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it was informative to you. If you have any questions about the install, write in the comments, and I'll try to get the answers for you. I've also installed these cameras on a 2019 Jeep Wrangler that we use. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link on how to install it in a Jeep.